Okay, it is 6:32, so we're going to get started for tonight. So welcome to the Farmington High School Building Committee West District Neighborhood Presentation. My name is Meg Guerrera. I am a resident of Farmington, a very proud West District neighbor, and the chair of the FHS Building Committee. So just a little history to start us off on the conversation tonight. The Farmington High School Building Committee was appointed in May 2019. We were directed by Town Council to solicit and evaluate conceptual design options from two noted school architectural firms to provide the Town Council with the information required to set the overall project scope and the municipal project cost range. After a 9-month competitive process, we thoroughly reviewed the conceptual designs from each, which included an option for maintaining the current facility, doing major renovation on the current facility, or building a new school. We recommended the construction of a new high school as the best solution to address the Board of Education's statement of needs. On February 4, 2020, the Town Council unanimously voted to select the new building solution. The new high school will provide a flexible and engaging learning environment for our students and community. And on a personal note, I wanted to add, as a resident for over 20 years, a parent of 2 boys in Farmington High School, a volunteer, an owner of a small business, and the building committee chair, I want to share with you why I feel building this new Farmington High School is important to our community and why we need to support our children's future. I've worked as a volunteer committee member to understand the importance of this project. I have seen the time and dedication of committee members, town and school staff, elected officials, and professionals as they evaluated and thought strategically to develop and propose a comprehensive solution for our children's future educational needs. I've worked side by side with this committee to consider all aspects of the new FHS and how it should be designed to serve our community and students. And I can't be any more clear when I say this is the right solution, and this is the right time for this project to be approved. In addition to your engagement and participation this evening, we ask the following. So please visit our website, fhsbuildingproject.org, for additional project information. It's a great resource out there for you to have at your fingertips at any time. Be on the lookout for a special building committee newsletter. So you should have received 2 already directly from the building committee with project information, but there's a very special one on the way that's going to be in your mailbox next week. We just ask if you please open it and read it, as it provides all the critical information you need to understand this project. And it really will be our final comprehensive communication from the building committee prior to the referendum. And the third thing I ask is that you really think about making a voting plan. So the tentative date of the high school project referendum is June 3rd. So that official date will be announced shortly. But right now, just think about your voting plan. It is important that you make your voice heard and vote in this referendum. So put it on your calendar, set yourself for reminders, and really think about the best way to get to that, to get your ballot in. So before we present the details of the proposed high school project, we'd like to take the opportunity to hear from town leaders on the importance of this new high school project. Tonight, we are joined by Chris Fagan, Town Council member, Edward Gianaros, Town Council member, Liz Fitzsimmons, Board of Education member, and Christy Browker, Board of Education member. I'd like to introduce Chris Fagan, Town Council member. You have to unmute, Chris.
You figure you'd get that down by now with all these Zoom meetings we live in. But yeah, thank you, Meg. And good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Town Council, we are glad you're joining us tonight so you can learn more about the high school project. This is an exciting and necessary investment for our students and for our community. As a result of strategic and responsible fiscal planning, the town is well positioned to move forward with the new high school project at this time. The Town Council fully supports the project and is the right solution at the right time.
Great, thank you, Chris. Now I'd like to introduce Liz Fitzsimmons, Board of Education member.
Thank you, Meg. My name is Liz Fitzsimmons, and I'm a member of the Board of Education. I am also a proud West District neighbor. My children went to West District school, and they're now in the high school. As a Board of Education, we are unified in our support of the proposed new high school. The proposed new high school addresses all of the needs of the current high school facility while supporting educational programming now and into the future. The time is now to address the current facility in a comprehensive manner. We are thrilled to share the details of the new high school facility with our community and join together to support this project.
Great, thank you very much, Liz. So the goal of our presentation this evening is to provide information on the FHS building project and answer specific questions related to the proposed project. We encourage all participants to use the Q&A feature to submit a question during this presentation, and there will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the presentation. Comments or questions can be sent to the building committee anytime by using the comment form on the website, fhsbuildingproject.org. And public comment is always welcome at the building committee meetings held every other Wednesday. And as a reminder, the next building committee meeting is May 5th at 6:30. So to begin our formal presentation, we're happy to have a teacher that also lives in town with us tonight. I'd like to introduce Carolyn Fink, a teacher at West District School, who'll give a statement on the FHS building project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn Fink, and I'm the math specialist and also the incoming principal at West District School. I'm also one of your neighbors and have had both of my daughters go through the Farmington Public Schools. In fact, both of them are proud West District Tigers. I'm really proud to live and work in Farmington, and I think this high school building project is extremely important for our students. It's also very important to me and to my fellow educators. Farmington students have traditionally led way beyond their K-12 education as successful, contributing citizens. However, expectations have really changed when it comes to the knowledge, skills, and dispositions required to compete on a global level for college admissions and in the work environment. A new high school will advance 21st century teaching and learning aligned to Farmington's vision of the global citizen, given the design of the proposed high school. The vision is directly aligned to what many companies cite as the knowledge, skills, and dispositions they're seeking in their employees now and into the future. So I hope that you'll join me in supporting this important project that will benefit Farmington students as well as our community as a destination not only for an exemplary education for Farmington students now and in the future, but also as a gathering place for our community for events and enrichment. A new high school, I think, will really enhance the experiences of all residents living in our wonderful town.
Great, thank you so much, Carolyn. So to begin the presentation, we just want to start with asking a very simple question: why build a new high school? And there's some very specific reasons for this. The current facility has reached its limits for providing 21st century programming and learning spaces that prepare today's leaders to be part of global solutions. You're going to hear more details on that a little bit later in the presentation. It would be costly to renovate the current high school for today's flexible and adaptable teaching methods. It would involve major and costly renovations to bring the current high school up to safety and security standards. And this is an important point and something we get asked frequently. The enrollment at FHS is projected to increase by 10% in the next 9 years. So please keep that in mind as well as we continue our conversations. So a comprehensive statement of needs was created by the Board of Education and approved by Town Council in February 2019. The statement of needs is the basis for recommending building a new high school. The main issues are accreditation and accessibility. The New England Association of Schools, or you might refer to people do refer to it as NEASC, has placed FHS on warning status for serious facility deficiencies, including ADA access, heating and ventilation problems, leaky roof, inadequate science, cafeteria, auditorium, and library and media facilities, and other facility issues that limit educational opportunities for students. Security and compliance. FHS has already experienced 7 additions or renovations before heightened security expectations were even a consideration. A sprawling layout, which I think is very noticeable if you visit the space at all. FHS is large, inefficient, mostly one-floor facility with too many long and narrow hallways. Educational programming. FHS is nearing its capacity to provide 21st century programming and learning spaces that prepare students for the future. And energy efficiency. FHS is really not energy efficient and is not cost effective. So to learn more about the statement of needs, there is a dedicated page on the building committee website. Once again, fhsbuildingproject.org. Lots of great information, but certainly more details on the statement of needs as well. So as we mentioned before, over the past 70 years, Farmington High School received numerous additions, which has resulted in the sprawling layout you see in the picture. This contributes to the narrow and crowded hallways, 23 separate entrances, a lack of parking on the site, and not enough classroom space. So to talk a little bit more about learning in this environment, I'd like to introduce Kathy Greeter, Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, Meg. Farmington's vision of the global citizen leads the way we think about curriculum, programming, instruction, and now the design of a new high school. If students are to become self-aware, resourceful learners who can think critically, problem solve, and work effectively with diverse groups of people, and ultimately make contributions to a better world, then they can't just passively be sitting in cube-like classrooms, listening to teacher lecture, copying notes off the board so that they can pass a quiz on Friday. Our high school students in the second decade of the 21st century are engaged in more active, collaborative, and self-directed kind of learning. They work on projects where they are expected to apply knowledge to complex problems. This looks like classroom spaces organized for small groups, circle up debates, demonstrations, partner work, etc. And it changes day to day and period by period. Flexible space is critical. A new building design would allow students to spill out into common spaces in classroom collaborative areas and meet with students in companion classes. We would like to do more interdisciplinary projects, and this collaborative concept would allow for that. We need space for students to post work on the walls or on display tables for critique and feedback. With critique and feedback as essential components of our learning model, students circulate and view each other's work in progress as models for their own learning. They comment on and provide suggestions for improvement, much like working professionals do. Today's students are more involved in hands-on making and doing. Students are creating and producing and doing the real work of scientists, musicians, artists, engineers, builders, and designers. A new high school would give us a state-of-the-art facility for this kind of learning. High school students learn best when there is a blend of independent and interdependent time for thinking, writing, reflection, reading, and research. They need quiet spaces to focus on their own work and collaborative spaces to meet with peers and talk about their work. We know that students are more motivated when they can make connections between what they're learning in school and something they care about in the world. We want a building that is alive with representations of what students care about and how they're making an impact. We need space to exhibit and present work, to engage with virtual and in-person experts, and to gather as small communities with a common goal or purpose. Space can encourage and promote student voice and engagement. And of course, above all, the environment for learning at FHS must be inclusive and respectful of all individuals. It must welcome everyone, allow access for all, and express a feeling of community and care. A place where everyone can grow and discover their personal talents and interests. Physical barriers, crowded hallways, undersized spaces, and outdated heating and cooling systems impact students' feeling of physical and emotional safety and comfort. So once again, we need a building that will reflect and allow for the kinds of learning that students really require to be prepared to become global citizens who are thinkers, collaborators, contributors, empowered learners, and self-aware individuals. All of these kinds of spaces truly make a difference in the day-to-day learning environment at FHS. Right now, we do the very best we can with boxy classrooms, long empty hallways, a tiny library, undersized auditorium with broken seats, and nowhere else to go for smaller presentations and performances. But we imagine the joy and energy of students and teachers together, as well as our community here in Farmington, in a space designed for limitless potential.
Thank you so much, Kathy. So keeping all that in mind and the value and what we need to invest in the future for our students, let's talk a little bit more about the process of the building committee and some of the decisions that were made along the way. So first up is a site evaluation. So why on the current site? A site evaluation subcommittee was responsible for researching possible alternate site options for FHS and to identify and document site constraints and benefits. After a full review and analysis of potential alternate sites in Farmington, it was determined that the current municipal site was the only viable option. A copy of the detailed analysis is accessible on the Building Committee website. Some more detail on the proposed site design. So the proposed site design for the new 3-story, 239,000 square foot high school really focuses on conserving resources, improves safety and security, improves traffic flow and vehicular circulation on the site, as well as improving traffic on Monteith Drive, provides additional parking, and because of the location of the new building, there will be no disruption to teaching and learning during construction. I'm going to repeat that last one because it is very, very important and was really something that the building committee, I know the town, the district, town council took very, very seriously. So because of the location of the new building, there will be no disruption to teaching and learning during construction. So a very important part of the conversation. So this slide illustrates how the building will look from the outside. The upper picture shows how the building will present itself to visitors. The main entrance will be prominent and secure. The administrative offices are located on the left side of the entrance with a clear view of visitors approaching the building. The exterior is constructed of energy efficient and durable materials such as masonry and glass, which are also easy to maintain. And we should also always remember Farmington High School is more than a school building. It's also a public asset. The new high school will have a separate public entrance for use after hours to spaces such as the cafeteria, auditorium, and gymnasium. The picture at the bottom of the slide illustrates this entrance located on the loud side of the building, which faces the football field and the renovated 900 wing containing team lockers and the district's central office. The upper picture in the slide illustrates the opposite side of the building, or what we refer to as the quiet side, that faces the neighbors. This side of the building contains the academic classrooms without a public entrance. This side also has a paved walkway that is gated at each end to prevent vehicular access except in an emergency. So another important conversation, and one that the building committee really made sure was on our agenda week after week when we met, was really designing with COVID in mind. So the design for the new high school includes safeguards against future pandemics. While maintaining proper social distancing and wearing face coverings are probably most effective in reducing the risk of exposure to a virus, certain features in the design of the buildings can certainly help. The new FHS building will have larger classrooms, wider corridors, easily cleanable surfaces, and touchless plumbing features. It will have new ventilation systems, a higher level of air filtration, and the ability to automatically flush air out of the building on a regular basis. Also, the ventilation system will have separate zones that will make it easier to separate different cohorts of students and staff and to isolate zones in order to prevent cross-contamination. Next, we'd like to play a video that provides a side-by-side comparison of the current high school and the new high school.
Just restarting the video so that it makes sure we have all the audio that's associated with it. So please bear with us.
The Farmington High School Building Committee. In our time together, we will review both the current and new Farmington High School. Please take note of the significant space, safety, and learning limitations of the current Farmington High School as compared to the many opportunities for engaged, inclusive, and safe learning provided by the new Farmington High School. Much of the high school was built when the enrollment was 800 students. Farmington High School now enrolls approximately 1,300 students. 10 additions have been added over the years to try to address the growing student population, but there are many spaces that cannot accommodate today's teaching methods. The proposed building provides flexible spaces that can accommodate a variety of teaching methods and a variety of instruction, including individual, small group, and large group instruction. The building also creates communities of learners by clustering classrooms around breakout areas,
faculty offices, and support spaces. The new facility is planned for future student population growth over the next decade. There are 23 separate entry points, sightline issues, challenges in separating the high school boundary to public access points, inadequate lighting inside and outside of the building creates a challenging building orientation. The current parking lot configuration does not provide nearly enough parking. Clear walking pathways present safety concerns and do not meet current standards for school safety. The entrance will be obvious to visitors arriving at the new FHS. The single main entrance is centrally located at the convergence of car, bus, and pedestrian approaches. A wide pedestrian-safe walkway leads directly to the front door. The school office is located immediately adjacent to the front door with a clear view of visitors approaching the buildings. During a 4-minute passing period, sometimes close to 1,000 students move through our hallway intersections. This creates crowded movement and not much time for students to get to their classes. The new FHS provides generous circulation paths filled with natural light from above. Major assembly spaces such as the library, cafeteria, and auditorium could be located along a central corridor, which is large enough to serve as breakout areas or as a lobby for those assembly spaces. The overcrowding we face at Farmington High School is experienced daily in our basic classrooms. They are occupied every period of the day, making it difficult to hold planning meetings, meet with small groups of students, or host special programs. The classrooms have ongoing problems, including a range of temperature fluctuations as a result of no air conditioning, ongoing leaks, and aging equipment. The remote second floor of the original 1928 building currently houses the art and world language departments. These classrooms are small, cramped, hot in the warm weather months, and cold in the winter. There is very little storage. In process, a completed student artwork clutters the classrooms and hallways. These spaces are only handicap accessible via the outdated and many times non-operating elevator. There are a number of students taking business classes who would tend to pursue business programs in their post-secondary education. Unfortunately, there is only one business classroom. Due to this limitation, we cannot keep up with the increasing enrollment and interest in advanced technology and business studies. Technology is at the center of 21st century teaching and learning, yet our entire data center is in a former classroom. The space is too small for the equipment and for staff to support all of our technology needs. Loud and distracting dehumidifiers are present in most of our math classrooms because of a moisture problem in this part of the building. This creates a challenging learning environment for teachers and students. The new FHS provides natural light in classrooms and other learning spaces. This photograph shows how light shelves along the windows can direct daylight upward and across the ceiling, making the classrooms very bright. The school includes movable furniture and technology for multiple learning formats, offering individual and small group configurations and greater flexibility in the scheduling of classrooms for different departments. Teacher workstations could be located elsewhere in shared collaborative spaces. The lack of space we face at the high school is evident in the amphitheater. It was originally designed for special events and meetings, but must now be used every period of the day for classes and study halls. The new FHS provides large instructional spaces that are fully accessible and that offer excellent visibility of instructional walls, adjustable lighting, proper acoustical treatment, and new audiovisual equipment. Newer technology can be incorporated within the spaces to support distance learning and collaborative instruction from multiple remote locations. Our current music room is an example of the challenges that growing enrollment can place on a program. This space is too small for the number of students who attend music classes. Students often have to practice in hallways and stairwells. There is also insufficient storage for instruments and other equipment. Most importantly, it is not ADA compliant or accessible for our disabled students. The new FHS provides rooms that can support large and small group assemblies for music practice, with the appropriate acoustic separation from adjacent spaces and with acoustical treatment within the rooms. The music room in the photograph is designed with a flat floor in order to maximize flexibility, and the movable tiered seating can be reconfigured as needs change. The room has windows for natural lighting and sound absorptive and reflective wall panels to optimize acoustics. Due to a lack of teaching space, the science labs must also function as classrooms and workspaces. There is insufficient storage for scientific chemicals and equipment, which can create a safety issue for our students and teachers. We are very careful when working with them, but are still limited due to the dated space. The new FHS provides bench-centered learning stations with good sight lines to the demonstration table. The photograph shows a high school science lab with operable windows to enhance the work environment. Ample daylighting reduces the need for artificial lighting, thereby saving energy. Durable finishes such as seamless flooring simplifies maintenance. In applied arts classes, students work with power tools and all kinds of objects. The classroom is too small to expand on project opportunities, as these types of projects require sufficient space to ensure student safety. The new FHS provides clean, safe, and organized workspaces with adequate storage facilities for materials and tools. Shop infrastructure should include acoustic separation of spaces, sensible distribution of utilities, and ample ventilation with dust filtration. For safety reasons, power equipment should be spaced appropriately and have proper safety features with emergency disconnects. There is no access to the second-level library for disabled students. The current library is not compliant with ADA standards. There is just not enough space for growth and student use. The new FHS provides a very visible, centrally located library with space for a variety of activities, such as individual study, small group discussion, and project work. Movable furniture can offer opportunities for rearranging spaces to accommodate evening meetings and presentations. The auditorium at Farmington High School, like many of our larger spaces, is inadequate to serve the needs of our community. A high school auditorium should accommodate at least half of the student population. Ours currently holds less than 1/3. Additionally, the space is not ADA compliant. This arrangement is problematic for large crowds, as entering and exiting the rows is difficult and distracting. Finally, poor acoustics and insufficient lighting for student productions hinders the capabilities for educational and community programming. A properly functioning high school auditorium provides a fully accessible space that serves the needs of the entire community as well as the students. It should act as a general place of assembly for everyone, as well as a learning environment for students, particularly those active in dramatic and musical events as performers, or as technicians in activities such as set building, staging, and media controlling. For that reason, features such as catwalks for stage lighting are designed with student safety in mind. Our cafeteria cannot accommodate the size of our current student body. 4 lunch waves must be organized, the first beginning before 10 a.m., which is when food can legally begin being served. Those students are not only scheduled for lunch at 9:50 a.m., but they must also get their food and eat in under 30 minutes. This is difficult with the number of students assigned to each lunch wave. Additionally, a minimum of 5 faculty members must be assigned to monitor each lunch wave, which is challenging given faculty teaching schedules. The cafeteria is also used for study halls in the beginning and end of the day due to insufficient classroom space. At times, nearly 200 students are assigned to a cafeteria study hall. This is hardly an environment conducive to student academic achievement, and again, several teachers must be assigned to monitor these large crowds. The new FHS provides a cafeteria that can serve not only as a space for dining, but also as a space for other activities during the day and on evenings and weekends. The space in the photograph is a high school cafeteria, and it also functions as a ticketing lobby for the auditorium and the gym, as a concession area, and as an assembly space for various meetings and presentations. The old gym is too small to hold any athletic events. Therefore, it can only be used for storage, small practices, and some gym classes. The main gym is not ADA compliant or handicap accessible when the bleachers are pulled out. There is no air conditioning, so it is often very hot during late spring and autumn events. It is also located directly across from the auditorium, so these 2 popular areas must compete in terms of space, sound, crowd control, and parking. The new FHS provides a gym for phys ed and athletic team events and is large enough for major assemblies of the student body. The high school gym in the photograph features a roof with a sawtooth configuration that allows daylight to enter into the gym, creating a pleasant, uplifting space. This gym is divisible by an overhead gym curtain and contains retractable seating on both sides. The high school currently lacks adequate breakout spaces for collaborative class activities. As a result, students must sit on the hallway floors when doing group work. This is not an ideal learning environment. The new FHS provides ample opportunity for breakout spaces adjacent to teacher work areas and near classroom clusters. Breakout spaces that are comfortable and attractive can offer greater opportunity for spontaneous discussion, group activities, and interdisciplinary teamwork. Highly visible areas such as the one shown in this photograph can be flexible gathering spaces between classrooms, and they can be the focal point of a smaller learning community. The location of the administrative offices in the existing facility is problematic. School administration does not have a direct view of the visitors approaching the building, In fact, the front office is located deep within the footprint of the existing building, quite far from the front door. Faculty offices are inadequate, and they are placed in various remote locations in the existing building. This does not encourage cross-disciplinary collaboration among teachers, and it makes interdepartmental planning very difficult. The new FHS administrative offices will be located in the main entrance of the building. This provides maximum views of people entering the building for security purposes. Faculty offices will be placed in each of the learning communities to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. The existing building has been renovated and enlarged so many times that its infrastructure is poorly arranged, with multiple heating and cooling systems of various vintages, a bewildering distribution of wiring for electricity, and a confusing maze of piping for plumbing and drainage. This makes maintenance difficult and costly. Many components are outdated and replacement parts are no longer made. Most of the existing building is only 1 story in height, resulting in many roofs of different ages, with many joints between those roofs. The result is an existing facility that has reoccurring failures in its infrastructure. The new FHS is planned to minimize its roof area and its exterior wall area. The design uses energy-efficient walls and windows to reduce heat loss in the winter and heat gain in the summer. Walls will have more insulation and less infiltration, and new maintenance-free windows will improve security and energy efficiency. The new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems will be arranged to maximize efficiency and simplify maintenance.
Thank you, Devin. I'm going to wait for the presentation to pull up. And we're going to move right on to estimated project cost. So the estimated total project cost is approximately $135.6 million. The Town Council set a net municipal project maximum of $110 million for the project, which the FHS Building Committee is committed to delivering a project below the net municipal project maximum. This will be offset by reimbursement from the state of Connecticut, estimated at approximately $26.3 million. I'm going to ask Kat Grajewski, Assistant Town Manager, to do a review on tax impact.
Thank you, Meg. Because of Farmington's ongoing retirement of existing bonded debt, there will only be 5 years, fiscal years 2023 to 2027, that the high school project will increase the property tax. For example, the impact on a homeowner with an average assessed value of $226,777 is estimated to be $466 in total over those 5 years, averaging $93 per year or under $8 per month. In the remaining years of the bonds, there is no incremental increases to taxes due to the high school debt issues, as the required debt service is absorbed by the retirement of old debt. Remember that assessment is 70% of the market value of your house. So a house assessed at $226,777 has a market value of approximately $324,000. More information regarding the project costs can be found on the project cost page of the FHS Building Committee website, www.fhsbuildingproject.org. On that page, you will find a table to determine the impact of the high school project on your property tax based on the market value of your home. The financial forecast that was prepared by the Town of Farmington Finance Department using historical data and certain financial assumptions is also included on that page under resources. We've also added the proposed bond schedules, which are assumptions made for the purpose of this financial forecast. The timing and duration of each issue will be determined as the project progresses, economic conditions, and cash needs.
Great, thank you, Kat. We're going to move on to project timeline, so some details about the project moving forward. So the first line you see here shows the proposed date for Town Council approval of this project on May 11th, 2021. At this time, the Town Council will send the project to referendum. Once the referendum is set, election laws prohibit municipalities from using taxpayer dollars to advocate for the approval of a referendum question. We mentioned that there because you will see a change in some of the communication and the distribution of communication after that May 11th date. The next line shows the tentative referendum date for June 3rd of this year. This is the proposed date for Farmington voters to cast their ballot toward the proposed new high school. Prior to referendum, we will be preparing the state grant application for submission no later than June 30th, 2021. The application holds our spot with the Office of School Construction Grants for state-funded reimbursements. Immediately following the approval of the referendum, the design team will start work on the final construction documents. This process typically takes a year to complete, which would bring our progress into the summer of 2022. Next, the construction firms will be engaged through a formal bidding process, and construction would commence in September, following the start of the year of 2022. There will be no disruption to teaching and learning during construction, as we've mentioned before. There will be a fenced-off section that will be clearly marked that separates the current high school from the building site. Students could expect to start their 2024 school year in the new building, following a 2-year construction period. The renovation of the 900 wing would begin the summer of 2024, along with the demolition of the remaining buildings, leaving remaining site work and relocated athletic fields to be completed by the summer of 2025. So now we're going to move on to questions and answers. So Kat Krajewski will facilitate this part of the presentation. As a reminder, questions can be submitted to the building committee at any time using the comment form on the website, fhsbuildingproject.org. But Kat will read the questions received and direct to the appropriate person to answer this evening.
Thank you, Meg. I'll give a few minutes for the questions to roll in. We did receive one already, so Lisa, I believe you'll be able to help us out with this one. Given 4 minutes between classes, why do we believe it'll be easier to change classes from second floor of one academic tower to the third floor of another while taking the stairs with 1,000 other students in motion? Current high school allows most students, as well as handicap, to roll down open flat hallways. Lisa, would you be able to speak to the current changing of classrooms or changing of in between classes?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I think what we're excited about is the fact that because the academic towers are indeed stacked, students have flexibility to either be organized interdisciplinary by tower, or they just have less distance to go. So if you think about a group of students being on the third floor and transitioning to their next class, half of those students will be in classes within that tower, and only the other half will need to move to the other tower. So you're automatically eliminating half of the students being in the hallways at any one time. We're also looking forward to the fact that in this new building, the hallways are wider than they currently are at Farmington High School. So the flow of traffic in the building has been a major consideration for the building committee, and the new design does remedy that.
Thank you, Lisa. Next question that we received: what does it mean if our town loses accreditation? I think it's important for parents to understand the impact this will have on their children's higher education. Kathy, would you be able to answer that in terms of the NEASC accreditation status?
Yes, thank you. At this time, NEASC has placed FHS on warning status in the Community Resources for Learning standard. ADA compliance issues and a lack of accessibility were noted. And even with the previous question, I would just say that right now our high school is not fully accessible for students with physical disabilities. The new building will be fully accessible, all areas of the school for all students. Right now we're on warning status because we do not have that in the current building. Also, the building has been cited by NEASC for limiting our ability to deliver improved programming for students. We've been on warning for many years, and we are accountable to explain to NEASC why we haven't addressed the deficiencies noted in the Community Resources for Learning standard of NEASC's 7 standards for accreditation. When we report to NEASC on a regular basis, we continue to state that we are in the design, development, and approval phases of the Farmington High School Building Committee's new high school project that is proposed. By working toward a new high school project, that would address all deficiencies noted in NEASC, and we would be taken off that warning status. We have a very favorable report in all areas, but this is really a significant issue, and NEASC does not put schools on warning without substantial evidence. We have stalled further action by NEASC related to our warning status by engaging in a building committee, not once, but twice, and really trying to find, the right project for our community. However, if we fail to move forward, we risk being placed on probation, a status made known to the public along with other schools and colleges. This would be, a very distressing situation for both Farmington High School and the Farmington community. But ultimately, the loss of accreditation could have the following consequences, and they are significant. Ineligibility to apply for federal grant monies. We are potentially not allowed to be a site for college board testing, such as SAT and AP. Our students would have to go to another school for that type of testing. Students would be at risk for scholarship awards. Students at risk for admission into the most competitive colleges and universities. It would have a significant negative impact on property values, according to NEASC, due to families seeking high quality education, especially at the high school level, which we currently have. So there are, steps in this process, and I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Kathy. Next question. While the amenities of a new facility are certainly nice, is it really worth spending $110 million to construct a new building with less than 10% more square footage? I'm going to ask Chris Cycli, who's our owner's representative from Construction Solutions Group, to address this one. Chris?
Sure. Thanks, Kat. So the building square footage is based on the enrollment, the highest of the 8-year enrollment projection that we submit to the state grant office. Excuse me. So that's how the calculation is formulated for the new building. It's irrelevant how big the existing building is. It's all based on the enrollment, the current enrollment, the highest projected of 8 years. The current building has some other inefficiencies, such as wider corridors, larger other gathering areas, where the new building would be more efficient in terms of narrower corridors, but right-sized classrooms, right-sized auditorium, gymnasium spaces, cafeteria, things like that. So that's how the square footage is derived.
Thank you, Chris. Another question we received, Kathy, I think you'll be able to address this one. Will you be able to offer the culinary program with the new building?
Yeah, so we received that question at a previous session, and I just want to clarify that the culinary program and the space for culinary is in the new facility. So it's both in our ed specs and our that we have online. You can see them on the Farmington High School Building Committee website, and it is within the design. So yes, the answer is yes when it comes to culinary.
Thank you very much. Next question, and I think maybe Lisa, this one will go to you if you could speak to this. Do you know the estimate of how many students in Farmington need a building that is handicap accessible? Maybe to the high school, and Kathy, if you have maybe more for the district, if you have those real numbers in front of you, or more anecdotally.
Thanks, Kat. My best estimate would be that we have at any given time a handful of students that that are in wheelchairs and that need access to handicap accessibility. But even one child is enough for us to weigh the importance of having a building that is ADA compliant. And so there are definitely students every day throughout the school year that have special needs for varying reasons and that do need spaces that are accessible throughout the entire building. So this is a significant need, as stated in our statement of needs, and one that really NEASC has raised as a red flag for us. So it does need to be attended to.
Thank you, Lisa. I would just add that we have many, unfortunately, we have many sports injuries and other types of issues that we have students that have injuries throughout the year and require accessibility throughout the building to get to their classes. And so that is another issue. And I would say generally for our community, the high school should be a place where our community gathers. And we should ensure that every resident has access to our high school and all areas of the high school.
Thank you both for that. Another question that came in, can you discuss the large number of entrances and exits and current layout of the school as related to the safety of students? Lisa and Kathy, this might be another one for the two of you.
Yeah, so we have currently over 20 entrances and exits to the current building, which does make it a challenge to secure, although we have managed to do so. As anybody who has visited the school during the day knows, we have a student entrance on one side of the building and a public entrance on the other side of the building, which is not ideal. The new facility does merge the two of those to a front entrance with great visibility so we can support the safety and well-being of our students. So the exits and entrances to students in the new building is significantly less and will be much easier for us to secure.
Thank you. Another question that came in, how many times has the school been updated or fixed, and how much has this cost the Farmington residents? And if we do not pass this, what will it cost the Farmington residents for another Band-Aid fix? Maybe Kathy, if you could do it. I know Meg, you might have some information. We had a slide earlier about the number of additions, and the committee did look at a maintain option. So if you could help jump in and speak to those.
I would just say that we've had several additions and renovations to this building. You could see in that slide that was provided in the presentation, it shows the years. It's been many years since some areas have been renovated, and it was renovated many times because of enrollment fluctuations and other issues. So right now, what I think I am more focused on, and probably Lisa, is that we have daily failures in that facility of plumbing and heating and real infrastructure issues that continue to be disruptive to our students' education. And when we did look at this as a building committee, it would be very expensive to just simply renovate, and then it would not address the programmatic needs that we have, the educational needs we have. So just putting a Band-Aid is extremely expensive, as you can look back in our archive documents that shows from 2 different architects the cost of renovation. I think one architect looked at it purely with a bare bones fixing what's an issue, and the other with some additions. But I think that not only this building committee, but the last one, this is such a significant issue, our current building, that the new facility was selected. So I don't know if Meg, you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, let me just do a reminder for everybody with us tonight on the building committee and the process that was followed. And as we mentioned in the intro, this was really really taking a comprehensive view of all options, 2 architects, 3 possible paths that we could follow, meaning maintain the current facility, renovate the current facility, or build a new. And we spent a lot of time on making sure we could evaluate those options appropriately. And there's a lot of documentation on the website, but very quickly we kind of looked at an evaluation matrix to help us make this decision. And we looked at categories. It was looking at safe and flexible learning environments, which, as we've heard tonight, are really critical and crucial to this building. Educational disruption, and that really spoke to that comment that we've made about what it means to teaching and learning with a renovation versus a new building. So that was a big part of our conversation. Really understanding maximum value with minimal risk when we're talking about construction and demolition and abatement for a school, and then understanding community asset and how this building really becomes an asset to the community overall beyond the school use. So when we really looked at the 6 options in front of us and did a thorough evaluation against those criteria, and then taking cost into consideration as well. So as Kathy mentioned, when we looked at those maintain options going from, very bare bones, basically just kind of patching it up and putting some Band-Aids on, it went anywhere from $45 million to $81 million just to do maintaining the current facility. If we moved into the renovation space where we really looked at a full renovation of the current facility, it went from anywhere from $97 to $99 million. So then when we did the evaluation, and as I said, that maximum value, minimum risk, looking at cost versus benefit, we looked at that new facility and said, you know what, it does do everything it needs to do. It has all current safety requirements addressed. It provides a fully flexible learning environment. There's no educational disruption through construction, limited hazmat, if not no hazmat risk during the process. Duration and cost risks are minimized just because we have a better handle on a construction project when we are building new. There's less unknowns in that process, and really understanding that there's public and private space separation obtained with a new building that we don't have today, as Lisa was just talking about. So there was a lot that went into the analysis of this project. And again, all this documentation is on the website for you to evaluate, but that's kind of the snapshot of when we looked at the overall process and the project and cost. We wanted to make, again, we keep talking about a comprehensive solution. And that was really our goal, is how do we really get the most benefit, meet the needs, not only of the community, but of the students for teaching and learning, that we're really matching the excellent education system that we have today and giving them the facility that these students deserve, and then comparing that to cost overall. So there was really a lot of work that went into that. So hopefully that's a quick snapshot of, again, we do have all that detail, the full evaluation matrix, all that work is on the website for review.
Thank you, Meg. Next question we have here: wouldn't a new high school improve property values as homeowners? I can take this one, and if anybody wants to jump in, please feel free. I would say that an investment in the schools is an investment in the community, and homes that are located in a community with high-performing school districts, the housing market has a greater demand, has higher property values and resale values. So definitely, it's a definite advantage to invest in the school, in your flagship school especially. But we are also in the financial forecast that the town has put together. It includes investments and infrastructure improvements to the K-8 facilities. So those are not ignored by any means. It's still maintaining and addressing the items that are identified in the K-8 facilities assessment. Another question that we have: I had heard that some residents were concerned about keeping the front building. What is the plan for the current front building that you see off of Route 4? So I believe that's the 1928 building, and that has been removed from the scope of this project. Meg, maybe you could talk about that a little bit. And we do have 2 town council members here, Edward and Chris, if you want to jump in to talk a little bit about the town council's decision.
So let me start, and as Kat said, Edward and Chris, if you want to give the town council perspective on this as well. But when we evaluated the overall project and took a look at the 1928 building is in the overall schematic design, we did not find any educational use for the 1928 building at this time. So you'll see it is not incorporated into the schematic design that we have presented tonight. But it is important to remember that that school and that facility will be used until the new school is built. So there was a lot of discussion around timing and conversation of a decision on the 1928 building and what should be done with it. So town council came to us as a building committee and said, you know what, we don't need to make this decision right now because the building is being used and will be used until approximately 2024. So let's put some more time into this. And really, we can't make a decision on the 1928 building, or don't need to, until after a past referendum anyways. So we removed the any scope around the 1928 building from the building project scope and any costs that we had associated to that building, and removed that as well, so that those two projects are completely separate now. So I don't know, Chris and Edward, if you want to add some additional conversation around how town council sees that process moving forward.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Meg. I mean, as part of our consideration having that removed, there are a number of factors, some of the costs associated with, the options of dealing with the 1928 building, of mothballing it, destroying it, or renovating, costs, added a significant cost to the project. But we're also cognizant of sort of the historical significance and the emotional attachment of that to our residents. So having it not, necessary to deal with as part of the initial scope of the project, we thought it was better to remove that and place that for further consideration by the town and maybe a separate referendum down the road, recognizing sort of all the factors that play into the 1928 building.
Thanks, Meg and Chris. I'd agree with everything that Meg and Chris just said, and I'd also just add in that further down the road at a later time after the referendum, we'll be forming a subcommittee to look at the different options of the 1928. So we want to make sure that we're approaching that in a very thoughtful process, and we're hearing kind of from everybody that has an opinion on that as we move forward. So we thought it was much more appropriate to separate that from this referendum.
Thank you. Another question here. Can you provide elaboration again about the fact that no disruption to teaching and learning during construction? Meg, I know you touched upon this in your discussion at one of the previous questions, but maybe you can elaborate that a little bit more.
Sure. Is there a way, I hate to make you do this, but go to the timeline slide? Maybe that might help in the conversation. Okay. So when we take a look at the timeline, this is really kind of an important part to the process. And again, as we mentioned, when we did the full evaluation of the conceptual design options to move us towards schematic design, we really looked at how disruptive renovating an existing school is and what that means to phasing of students if you were to do that. So if you think about a renovated building, you would be doing a portion of the building, displacing students from that portion of the building that's being renovated, putting them either in modified spaces within the current facility or even off-site portable classrooms, things like that. None of those are ideal solutions, especially for teaching and learning. We actually have a building committee member, Wendy Koo, who we've heard several times talk about. She's a Farmington resident. She went to Farmington High School and lived through construction at Farmington High School and reflects back on the fact that it was disruptive as a student at her time at Farmington High School during a renovation. So we took all those things into consideration, and really that was some of the driving factor towards us moving towards a new building. So when we look at the overall timeline, you can see it's broken up, really talking about the building of the new school. So you see that phase 1 construction of the new building, September 2022 to August 2024. And then the arrow is important. Students will occupy the new high school in August, September of 2024. So we'll actually do a full transfer of the students from the old facility into the new facility, hopefully for the start of August, September 2024. And then phase 2 is renovation of 900 wing and demolition of remaining building. So at that point, all the students have been removed from the old building. They have started classes in the new facility, and then we work on any kind of demolition or work that needs to be done to the old building. So there's a very significant separation there. Now, the construction site itself will be very protected. So that's something we talk about a lot when we really do a deeper dive into the site. And there's a lot of work that the architects have done. We have talked about how to keep the site safe and secure for our students during construction. So that work will all be done and maintained, and make sure that the environment during construction, even though students are learning in the old building and construction is going on simultaneously on the other side of the site, that construction site remains safe for our students, and that, you know, we've worked through conversations on traffic and traffic patterns and all those things. We have some very experienced architects and owners reps who have done many projects like this and can help us through that process. But that's really kind of hopefully that answers the question, that this is really two very distinct efforts: the building of the new structure, the transfer of the students to that structure, and then the demolition of the old facility and any site work that might follow. So that's the construction portion and the kind of the tactical description. But I don't know, Kathy or Lisa, if you want to talk any more about you know, the actual learning inside the building and any differences or any additional detail there.
I just would say that it really is ideal that the construction is not within the high school, but separate from the high school. And, you know, we imagine that we would proceed as we always do while that construction is going on. So I think it really, not only the timeline for construction, but the fact that it would not be occurring within the current building with students and teachers occupying that building. I think, you know, both the timeline and the fact that it's separate from our current building are really favorable, and something that our, you know, together, our community, our faculty, our students, you know, appreciate a great deal.
The next question that we received: are we receiving any support from Chris Murphy, U.S. Senate Education Committee, or Johanna Hayes, U.S. House Education Committee, on this major investment in new school infrastructure for Farmington? I will say that we work closely with our state and federal elected officials, and we will seek out any and all funding to support this project or other projects that we have in our forecast or down on our timelines, as we always do. So that's something we're always looking to do to help offset any costs if there are applicable grants out there. Another question we have here, Kathy, I think this one's going to be for you. Incorporating a culinary program in the new high school will then require adding new staff. Looking across all planned education offerings, how many additional full-time employees do you anticipate hiring for the new school?
So as many of you know, that we actually go through a very rigorous budget process in which our principals and program leaders do propose, you know, new elements to add to our budget, and then it goes through a vetting process at the central office level and a vetting process with our Board of Education. So I would say that, you know, what we try to do, and we've done very successfully at the high school, is when we're going through a budget process and trying to add, I can give you examples of, you know, capstone courses and things like that. We look at our current staffing and we try to look for efficiencies within our current staffing. So that would be our approach as we move towards the new high school. So we would really look at this critically, look for efficiencies within our current staffing to either offset, you know, a culinary teacher, or move someone within the organization to that program.
Thank you, Kathy. Next question here. So based on the timeline, if your child is in 4th or 5th grade, they will be going into the new high school as a freshman. According to my math, that sounds correct, but if somebody wants to verify and double check my math, I think that is accurate. Another question here. Can you explain more about the funding the state is willing to give us to offset the cost? Does it apply to the new building option? Chris, would you be able to speak to this a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. So the funding the state is giving us is actually in two parts, because we have two separate grant applications, two separate projects, the way the state views this. So we have one project, which is the new building of the high school. And then we have the separate project, which is the 900 wing, which has the Board of Ed space as well as the field houses. So the reimbursement rates for the existing, for the 900 wing is 28%. And the reimbursement rate for the new high school building is 18%. And those will be applied to the total project costs of each of those projects, resulting in approximately the $26 million total, as Meg alluded to earlier, that will be received from the state.
Thank you. It looks like that's all the questions that we have. So Meg, I will send it back over to you.
Great, thanks so much, Kat. And we do really appreciate the engagement tonight, the questions. We do want to remind you that we do offer questions or an opportunity to submit additional questions to the building committee right off the website, fhsbuildingproject.org. And we do encourage everyone to visit that officially sanctioned factual website as your source of information, updates, presentations, recordings, and anytime you have a question regarding the project, as I mentioned. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And just as I mentioned, I just want to call out that when we mention the recordings, so we have done many of these presentations similar to this one, some of them different, some of them specific topic meetings and conversations. All the recordings for those meetings can be found on our website. So please, if you feel like there's additional information that you want to read about or watch, it's all out there on the website, fhsbuildingproject.org. Please feel free to go out there and take a look, learn more. And again, if you have questions, we have a contact form right there on the homepage of the website for you to submit questions to us. But that does conclude tonight's presentation. We do, again, thank you for your time and your continued engagement. And we hope that we will get an opportunity to talk to you soon.